So Sue Bird goes on the Dan Patrick Show and is coy about whether or not she would have put Caitlin Clark on the 2024 Women's Olympic Basketball team. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so with the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. Don't forget about Caitlin Clark's crossover every Monday and Thursday, 6 to 7 and 5:30 to 6:30 respectively, except for major holidays. It's a Caitlin Clark forum with guest podcasters. It's really cool. Just join us for that. So Sue Bird is, we know, got managing director now for the women's national team for basketball. And it looks like she's going to have the final say on the Olympic team this time, and also for the FIBA World Cup team, which is in 2 years. Well, actually in 1 year. So she'll be choosing a team for that. I'm not sure, if that's going to be something Caitlin Clark's going to play in or not, but I know she wants to play in the Olympic team. She went on Dan Patrick Show to talk about that, and I have a couple excerpts from that I'd like to play.
Would you put Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team?
Right now?
No, no. This past Olympic team.
I knew you were going to ask this question. Honestly, I have to just say that I respected the committee's job.
Okay. I respected the committee's job. Yeah. You have to be aware of how she worded that, Rob. She didn't say I respected the committee, which she probably did, but she said she respected the committee's jobs. That tells me that she would have put Caitlin Clark in the Olympic team. Well,
yeah, I mean, she had to get around that, and she couldn't say that, otherwise that would cause kind of a controversy. So she had to say it that way.
No, I mean, one of the members of the committee was from Connecticut, Rob.
Yeah.
And she's probably friends with Dawn Staley. We don't know that for sure. She's friends with Diana Taurasi, who was on the team and shouldn't have been. So what's she going to say? We know. All right, let's see what happened. What else she says.
I understood what was at play. I understood the pros and the cons, I guess, if you want to lay it out that way. And I think at the end of the day, it's hard to criticize a gold medal. A lot of people.
Okay, I don't agree with that, Rob. Just because they got a gold medal doesn't mean they chose the right 12 people.
Yeah.
they were heavily favored to begin with.
So, Mark, if Gabby Williams had put her foot back just a little bit further, they would have lost the gold medal.
Well, it would have been overtime because they lost by 1. That would have been a 3-point play instead of a 2-point play. But yeah, it would have gone into overtime. But, they only won by 1 point.
Yeah.
But she addresses the close game, Rob, and the rest of us. Let's hear what the rest she has to say when we talk about it more.
People see the final game against France. They see, only winning by a couple points, and they view that as some sort of indicator. But the reality is we've been having close games at the Olympics.
We've been having close games. We'll get to that 1 second. Notice how she worded it. We've been having close games. Like it's a common thing. All right, so we'll just talk about that in a minute.
For years, I can attest to that. So that wasn't really that new. Winning a close game like that wasn't new. That didn't have anything to do with the roster.
Okay, so Rob, we looked this up.
So Mark, let me just go. The way she said it and the way she means it just kind of plays it off like it was. Oh, it's just a close. The way they were playing, and the way they had no point guard, and the players they had in that team, it should not have been a close game. It should not have been a close game. Yeah, you might have had close games during the time you played. But this game, there's no way. The talent on that team, there's no way it should have been that close.
Right, Rob. Here's the thing. Just because they won doesn't mean you can't argue with it. That's a silly argument. That's what anti-Caitlin Clark people are arguing. No, we can make that argument, Rob, because there's no way France didn't even go undefeated in pool play. And they only played 3 games, Rob, and they were 2-1 in pool play. So they were a mediocre team. There wasn't any good teams at all in that whole Olympics other than the United States. That just goes to otherwise France would have been 5-0 going into that finals and would have blown everybody else away if they were a good team. They didn't. They struggled to beat other teams, and they were 4-1 going into that game. So they were a mediocre team.
Right.
So there's no way that game should have been close. And the only reason it was close is what you pointed out. They didn't have a point guard, and France slowed the game down, which they were allowed to be able to do that because Chelsea Gray is slow herself because she was hobbled. Diana Taurasi didn't even play. They didn't have any true point guard other than Chelsea Gray. Sabrina Escu's kind of a point guard, but she didn't even get into the third quarter. for some reason, Cheryl Reeve didn't have confidence in her as a point guard. And if Caitlin Clark had played, she would have played up-tempo, fast-paced, and she would have turned the game around. No question in my mind, Rob.
Yeah. Mark, if they would have had Caitlin Clark, to quote the great Charles Barkley, I guaranteed it that they would have won that game by more than 2 points.
They won by 1 point. They won by 1. She said 2 points, but they only won by 1
point. Sorry, more. Yeah. I guarantee they would have won by more than 1 point.
And she said, we've been having close games all along. We looked it up, Rob. Completely untrue. They've had one close game. They've won 7 gold medals in a row, Rob. And the closest game for the gold medal game has been 11 points out of 7 times they played. The closest semifinal game was 13, except for 1 game against Russia. Against Russia in 2004, they had a 4-point game. They were only up by 1 going to the fourth quarter. So that was a close game. Their closest pool game that they played, and they played, well, sometimes they played 5 and sometimes they played 3. So they played about 25 pool games. Their closest pool game was 9 points. Everything else was generally 40 or 50-point wins. So they've had 1 close game that they played in 7 Olympics. Not we've been having all along. 1 close game. That's it.
And the way she just like poo-poos it off, just to cover what happened. I mean, and then saying, "Oh, you can't really, criticize." Yes, you can. I mean, you're supposed to win with that 12 players. They're supposed to be they're the 12 best players, and those 12 best players didn't even beat the All-Stars. So obviously, they were not the 12 best players.
So that was 7 Olympics in a row we went through, and they've won 8 in a row now. In the finals, Rob, they won by 24, 18, 11, 27, 36, 29, and 15. None of the finals were close.
Yeah,
the close was nothing. So that's not true, and it's irrelevant to the point on whether or not they chose the right team and whether or not it would have been close for that particular game,
right? Because
they didn't have the right roster, which is why they had problems against France. This is indisputable, Rob.
Right.
So let's go on.
Yeah, I think it was best for both, and I said that at the time. I thought she had played a lot of basketball. I think she was tired. She needed a break. I didn't think she earned it. And there were other players who probably were in front of her who didn't make it as well. I'm going to guess she'll probably be on the next Olympic team. Just guessing.
I mean, TBD.
Yeah.
We got 3 years.
Go ahead, Rob.
What a goof. He's such a goof. That was the whole thing during that. Oh, maybe she needed a rest. All these, how do they know her? They don't know how tired she was. They don't know. They were just trying to cover up for, what they thought the Olympic team was and their choices, and they were not good choices. I don't think he watched any women's basketball. I mean, it was definitely just all politics. Everybody knows that.
Dan Patrick is one of my favorite sportscasters of all time, and he rarely has a bad take. This is a bad take, and he's doubled down on it several times now. He said, I didn't think she was one of the 12 best players. She hadn't earned it. He said these things in the past. And Rob, she did earn it. She earned it by what she did in college. And then she earned it by the fact that she played really well and they were double teaming and triple teaming her. And she was playing on a new team in a new league. And she had numbers that were slightly better than Diana Taurasi, who got put on the team. And Jewel Lloyd was having an awful year. All sorts of things. Chelsea Gray was injured. She shouldn't even been on the team because she was hobbled. In the final game, Diana Taurasi didn't even play, and Chelsea Gray didn't even play in the second half. So you can tell they had no point guard, which means they needed Caitlin Clark.
You also left out Marcia, a horrible coach in sides.
Right. I mean, she had all sorts of obstacles those first 10 games before they made. And Rob, the other thing is there was no hurry to choose the Olympic team. Mm-mm. They did not have to choose that final roster. And I read it was either 48 or 72 hours before the Olympics starts. That's when they have to turn in the final roster. As we know, the men's team had a temporary roster, and then they took Kawhi Leonard off because his injury was more serious than they originally thought, and they replaced him between when they announced their roster to when they had to turn in their final roster 2 or 3 days before the Olympics. So we know it's doable. We know it's done because it was done just that year by the men's team. And that's what should have happened. They should have taken Diana Taurasi off. She had some injuries too that year. She had a little injury. She sat out some games leading up to the Olympics. And Chelsea Gray, once they found out she was still hobbled, they both should have been off the team. And Caitlin Clark and someone else should have been on that team.
That was not the best 12 players. as we saw in the All-Star game when they got blown out by the All-Stars, and they saw how the fast pace with Caitlin Clark bringing the ball up, and the other players on the All-Star team were just like, wow, this is so cool to play with Caitlin Clark.
And you can say that Enrique is a loose gun, a volume shooter or whatever, but she would actually be good on the Olympic team. You just put her in if your offense is struggling. If she gets hot, great. If she doesn't, what do you have to lose? Your offense was already struggling. You just take her out if she's not hot. But I would actually put Enrique and Caitlin Clark on the team and take off Diana Taurasi and Chelsea Gray. Those are the two players I would have put on.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is, Dan Patrick, this is his worst take ever. And I really like the guy. He's a smart guy. He rarely has a bad take.
This thing with her being so tired, that's such a lame excuse.
Let her decide that.
It's such a lame excuse.
Anyways, he did ask an interesting question about the competition, and you might find this interesting since you watched some international women's basketball.
Where is the game going if you look at another country that's developing talent on the women's side? Because we look at France, Africa for the men's side, Australia has put out some good players. But if you were looking handicapping 5 years down the road, the country to keep an eye on is who?
I think right now it's France. It's always been Australia. So it feels like that's just like, yes, there's some highs and lows, some plateaus, but they just keep it coming. And then, the African nations, Nigeria has done a tremendous job in the last couple of Olympics. Some of that is that there's actually Americans that play on those teams, play on the Nigerian team, play on the French team. Some of it's that those players are now coming to the WNBA more. As that money increases, I expect that to increase like tenfold, and that's going to really change things up.
Now, Robert, I will say, she's got to be diplomatic with this. She's friends with people and stuff like that.
But she left out. I mean, I can't believe she left out China. I mean,
that's why I played this tape about China.
Yeah, I've watched the Chinese team, and they wipe up in the international play. They've wiped up all the other. The closest competition is Japan, which is a shorter team, but they play very smart and they shoot the three well. But they play very smart. But China has a player. The players are a lot bigger. They can match up size wise with the U.S.
Rob, they have a woman that's somewhere between the height. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
No, keep going.
They have a 17-year-old. She might be 18 by now, who's somewhere between the height of 7'3" and 7'5". So if that's not future, I don't know what is. Young and very tall. So yeah, I agree with you on China.
Yeah, they play. They can play physical. They're, like I said, they match up with them with height and speed, and they've been playing together for a long time, which is a big factor in Olympics, which always used to hurt our Olympic players that we get together 2 or 3 months or even a month and trying to play together. But they've been playing together for years now. So I don't know why she didn't include China. I would put China number 1 over France.
Now, I understand that the first couple of questions she asked her were difficult questions for her because she knows they made a mistake, and yet she's close to people. But I found it interesting the way she worded it. I respected the committee's job, which means they had a difficult job. She didn't say she respected the committee or their decision. She could have said, I respected the committee's decision. She chose the word job. So I'm thinking if she was involved in it, if she had the final say, Caitlin Clark would have been on that team, which is a good sign. It's a good sign that she answered that way in essence, because that's what would happen different if she was in charge. And it doesn't matter now because Caitlin Clark's never going to be off the Olympic team until she's too old. And of course, that was Diana Taurasi's whole point, but wanted to be on the team and keep Caitlin Clark off so Caitlin Clark can't get the same number of gold medals as her, which is 6. Because she's never going to get it.
I just wish she would have challenged what Dan Patrick said about, the Clark being tired and she didn't have enough talent. I'm like, what are you talking about? I would have said, well, I don't know about the tired part and talent. She definitely has the talent to have been on that team. I would have said that, definitely.
But Dan Patrick doesn't care that the other women who came out of college, like Diana Taurasi, Brenna Stewart, and Candace Parker, were automatically just put on the Olympic team, and they didn't earn it. He doesn't care about that. So that's not a good argument because it wasn't done it that way in the past, Rob, especially when you have a player who's 2-time player of the year who looks like a generational player. That's all the more reason to put her on.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think Sue Bird, despite what people have this concern because she has UConn connection, she seems like a fair person to me, Rob. And so I think she's going to do a good job. She obviously knows basketball, and she's very current. So she's very up on things too. So I think she's going to do a nice job.
Well, that's why you saw when he said that. She said, "Now," like,
yeah, no.
She would have said, "Of course."
They have to start right away, Rob, because they don't have to qualify. By the way, it starts right away, Rob, because they actually the 2026 is only next year. So she's got to evaluate all the players this year, so she can choose some players for next year. Now they don't have to qualify, so they don't have to play this year in the qualifying tournament because they won the FIBA Cup last time, and they have two reasons why they don't qualify in the Olympics. Number one, they're the host country, so they automatically get a team, but they also won the gold medal last time, so they qualify in two different ways for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, and that's the key. But I'm assuming Caitlin Clark's going to want to play in the FIBA Cup, but I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think Sue Bird was the right choice, and she'll do the right thing. She's the right choice.
That's her first test is the 2026 team, and we'll find out about a year from now who she's thinking of putting on there. If you like this video, hit the like button. Feel free to share it with your family, friends, and acquaintances. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. And join us for Caitlin Clark's crossover every Monday and Thursday, 6 to 7 and 5:30, 6:30 Eastern time, respectively, except for major holidays. We talk about Caitlin Clark, and it's like guest podcasters, and it's cool form. And if you want, you can donate to this channel with super chats and super thanks down below. There's a link to PayPal. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.